Everyone slacks on water, even though it's the easiest goal to conquer. And so I tell people, you have to have a plentiful source of water at an arm's length away everywhere you go. The reason you're not reaching your water is because it's just not around you. If I'm here working at my desk and my Stanley is not right here and I have to go downstairs to fill up a glass of water, I'm just not going to go, because the effort to get that glass of water, to me, it doesn't make sense, even though it should, right? I'd rather stay here and type another sentence into what I'm doing or whatever. So having it around you and having it be plentiful is going to easily hit that. When people say I'm on a diet, it's implied that it's temporary, right? When I tell people I'm not putting you on a diet, I hate the word altogether. If you're doing something that has the word diet in it, you're already doing it on hard mode. 9 out of 10 Americans are eating less than half the amount of fiber that they should be eating. Fiber is the nutrient that fights risk of all-cause disease. Any kind of complication you can run into, fiber fights that. It helps with gut health. It helps reduce colon cancer. It's the only thing that can fight colon cancer, which is like the number one disease taking out people under 50 years old right now. And just to like make sure that your body's actually fully absorbing everything you eat, you want to make sure fiber is there to regulate your digestion. So know how much fiber you're eating and track it if you're not getting enough.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. Today's episode is a special one. I'm joined by Francesco Provenzano, a friend of mine since first grade, who is the founder of Pro Training Solutions, a nutrition coach who has guided hundreds of clients through lasting physical transformation without restriction or guilt. He has built a coaching philosophy on a powerful reframe: you do not need to live like a person on a diet to feel good in your body. You could still go out, enjoy a drink, and live your life while getting stronger, feeling more energized, and more in control. Today we explore real lifestyle change, practical things you can take away that relate to mindset, behavior, identity, and the simple adjustments that make health feel livable. Francesco, welcome to the show. Today we're going to talk about nutrition and the experience that you've had in the past 10 years of you dialing in and working with over 2,000 clients at this point. So I want to start by asking, you've worked with so many different people through different lifestyle shifts, and you always emphasize they didn't need to give up their life to do it. What's the biggest lie people believe about getting healthy?
I think it's been the same for so long. People think that they have to pick between living their life or abiding by their health goals. And I always try to make a case in point that if you're going to work with me, there's a way where you walk the same path and you get both of those things. You don't have to come to that fork in the road and pick what you want. So people love that right off the get-go because it's different than hearing, you have to stop going out to eat with your friends. You have to stop celebrating your kids' birthday parties. You have to stop missing date night with your significant other. So I try to bring the realistic approach because that's the best thing that a coach can do. A real coach teaches their clients, puts the tools in their tool belts so that the biggest return on investment is not the initial transformation, whatever field it may be. It's that your client can go off on their own because of your teachings. So got to keep it realistic to get that outcome.
Yeah. And you also mentioned that people who focus a lot of their progress on the scale or how many pounds they've lost is often most important, but that does a pretty bad job of reflecting their health journey and kind of the big picture changes that they're making. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, I mean, that's an idea that goes into everything, not just like somebody wanting to lose weight, right? If you look at just one metric of success, it's very easy to get the false picture. If somebody's trying to get rich or just save money and get in a better financial situation, and you're only looking at how much money you have in your checking account, you're ignoring a ton of other things. What expenses do you have? How much debt are you racking up? Somebody can have 100K in their checking account and they could have 200K in debt. So if you're only looking at under one lens and at one thing, you don't have the full picture. And if we're talking about just weight, I always say you just need to be losing the right weight. And if you're doing that, it's really not going to change a whole lot unless a lot of time compounds. Most of my clients, if you look at their stories, they don't lose a whole lot of weight. They lose like 1 to 2 pounds, maybe 3 pounds a month. It's when that compounds over 6 months that they're like, okay, I'm down 20 pounds, I'm down 30 pounds. You tell somebody, hey, you're going to lose 30 pounds in 6 months, but then you break that down for them and you pitch it to them as this is how much weight you're going to lose per each individual month, they get discouraged. So it's better to not look at one thing. It's better to look at several things and understanding that the scale is just one of those things.
Yeah, and those actions that compound turn into automatic
Habit.
behavior patterns, right? And that ultimately is what makes these broader lifestyle changes easier.
Yep.
And it's easy to lose sight of that because you want the results as fast as possible, and it's difficult for people to see, especially in the beginning, to see if I just do small incremental changes in my diet, for example, like adding a salad, like Matt Ogus, who is someone that we were both inspired by growing up.
Yeah, pair every meal with a side salad.
With a side salad. And to this day, it's been 10 years of listening to that advice.
Overpowered little things, little pieces of advice that you sprinkle into your day, compound into the biggest changes that you don't even feel like you're doing the most, right? Everyone's trying to do the absolute most when try doing a bunch of little things rather than one giant revamp of your entire life. So we were lucky. We were lucky. We stumbled on the right people. Unfortunately, every industry is saturated with more snake oil salesmen than there is actual people who want to help. So, I mean, that's why I do what I do. Because we were victims to the snake oil salesman. The amount of shit that I gave up in my life to try to build some muscle when I was 16 years old, I wish I could have it all back.
Well, yeah, I want to talk more about the industry and a lot of conditioning within the fitness industry, specifically around we need protein powder, we need all of these supplements, we need all of these things outside of ourselves, outside of whole foods, outside of simple like sleep, nutrition, having a salad, having a protein, having a carb, like just the simplest things are actually what work. And there's a lot of the fad diets, a lot of the industry built to sell you something. So tell us about that and tell us about how you help your clients through shifting their perspective.
Yeah. I mean, fitness, like everything else, is a business, and most businesses that the solution that is sold is, I don't want to say preying on insecurities, but you're trying to answer the solution of an insecurity. Fitness being the kid that feels too skinny, or, the individual who feels too heavy. It goes deeper than just a desire. It's more towards somebody trying to feel truly like themselves. And when that's threatened, you can really feed off that as a business. You shouldn't, but they do. And so you got to have your protein 30 minutes after your workout. You got to drink your BCAAs during your workout. You got to make sure that you are taking this multivitamin in the morning and that multivitamin at night. And then you look at your bills and you're spending more in supplements than you are in groceries. And then some people, just to keep up with their supplement regimens, are sacrificing the quality of their actual groceries. And it's just keeping them in a cycle of like, well, I need to continue buying these supplements, to where they don't even understand if you just cancel all that out and you shop smarter, you shop more nutritious, you don't need any of that. You truly don't need any supplements aside from maybe an omega-3. That's it. So those of you watching or taking notes, that's number one.
Yeah, I love that. And I want to dive deeper into the simplicity and the foundations that someone should build if they're fresh, right?
Yeah.
Haven't really tracked macros, haven't done any of the complex diet following. Someone out there right now, a listener, that is ready for fresh advice. They've never watched a YouTube video.
I think the three biggest things is to understand that it's not so much about following a specific diet. It's not so much about looking at what to cut out. It's about looking at what you're doing right now and what can you add into that to maximize the quality. That's how people need to reverse engineer the problem, because people will say, I want to lose some weight. Okay, I'm going to stop drinking completely. I'm going to stop eating sugar. I'm going to stop eating carbs. I'm going to stop eating after 6 p.m. You're basically stopping everything aside from just eating in a 6-hour window and foods that you don't hate, but they don't really bring you that same excitement. And I think nutrition is important, but enjoying your food and sometimes getting a dopamine spike from eating something that isn't so nutrient dense is a freedom that you have as long as you know how to balance everything. So the foundation is not so much these are the nutrients that need to make up your diet. It is partly that, but it's also this is the mindset that I need to have regarding how I approach nutrition as a whole. So I always tell my clients, if the process required perfection, none of my clients would get results. And that's something that I hold so close just because that's how I live my life. And looking back, I lost out on so much of it. I didn't go and hang out with my friends for several years. There's a point in life that I stopped eating with my family. You know that I had 2 kitchens. We had the upstairs kitchen and the downstairs kitchen. And for like 3 years of my life, the downstairs fridge was my fridge, and it was filled with Costco giant chicken, individual packets, and frozen vegetables, and no seasoning on anything. And everything had to be a certain way while my parents were upstairs eating, you know, mom's cooking and, you know, the food that's traditional to us, Italian food. And just villainizing anything that wasn't the stereotypical bodybuilding diet. So yeah, I mean, I'm kind of going off the rails, but the mentality is number one. Then you could focus on the actual specific nutrient goals, because you could go a long way not even eating the exact amount of protein that is considered most optimal, the exact amount of calories that's considered most optimal. The person with the better mindset and somewhat hitting their goals, maybe ballparking them, is going to go much farther than the person who has the exact macros figured out, but their mindset is so flawed that they're binging on the weekends because they literally cannot stick to something so restrictive, and is just constantly kind of setting themselves back, trying to be perfect.
Yeah, I remember when my family would make focaccia and pasta al forno and the best stuff in the world, and I would always say no, and they just expected me to always not eat it and just have my chicken breast and
Oh, like
salad.
Lorenzo's not gonna eat that. Don't worry about it. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
And I remember them having this he's gonna learn one day type of response
Yeah.
of like, this is clearly not sustainable, and he's just, you know, kind of figuring out his path to a healthier life in a way that's very extreme. And I think it's what most people experience, and even my experience as a trainer is they go, you know, you call it 100 miles per hour.
Yeah.
You know, as soon as you see a diet or, you know, something that might work or help you reach your goal, you're all in and you just kind of shut everything else off. But then, like you said, you know, I would go to all you can eat sushi and just eat like
blind. You
more
see
than my
red.
body.
You see
Yeah,
red.
exactly. You see red. You
That
see
literally
red.
is.
That's the best way to put it.
Yeah.
So for those that are maybe in that position and are thinking very extreme, or even thinking all or nothing about, if I'm not following a perfect diet, I'm just gonna binge for 2 weeks, right? Yeah. What do you typically say in response to clients that are going through that?
Yeah. So depending on how much longer this is all going to go, you're going to hear several different analogies. I get this from my dad. Everything gets put into an analogy, and it's just the best way people can grasp information. So if you look at, you know, your efforts, ideally it's consistent effort over the course of a long period of time. Let's, for example, take a year into account. A year is comprised of 12 months or 365 days. When you take a test, if you think back to when you had to prepare for tests, how many times did you expect yourself to get 100 out of 100? Never. You just want to pass the exam, right? And you oftentimes did the math on, okay, I get this many questions right, I'll get the 82%, and that's what I need. So the reality is that 365 days is a lot of questions on the exam. You don't have to get all of them right. You can have a day where you completely go off the rails. You can have many days where you completely go off the rails. If in the grand scheme you are at a passing grade, you're going to see results. Now, yeah, the A effort, the B effort, the C effort, they're all going to yield a different set of results. But that's where, again, mindset comes in. That's where you need to be at peace. You need to look at the work you're putting in and the consequent result. And if you're not at peace with the result that you're getting, then the only alternative is make peace with the work required to go the next grade up. That's how I explain it. There's tough love built into it, but there's no sugarcoating it. There's me being real, telling the person, hey, you're seeing results. It's slow, but are you good with it? Because maybe you're the person that by being more rigid, yeah, you're shooting for that B score, you're giving that B effort, but maybe for your lifestyle, it's just not even sustainable. I have clients who are on 4 flights in 3 days. They can't give an A effort and actually have the flexibility needed to make results, period. So it's about kind of making that analogy work for them. Like for some students that we went to school with that are just not the brightest, a C is their A, right? But then there's smarter kids that are expected to get the B's and the A's because circumstantially, right, they're just naturally smarter, or maybe they're not doing an extracurricular sport, so they're able to spend more time studying, right? Everybody has different circumstances. So that's where coaching comes in. It's so much more than just, here's your diet, follow it, and that's it. If you're not following, you don't want it bad enough, because you don't want it bad enough is a coach's cop out to actually trying to help. So
I want to talk about willpower and how, one day we feel pumped and ready to go to the gym, and we're already imagining the next 2 weeks of waking up every morning at 8 a.m. doing this routine. And then 8 a.m. comes around the corner and we're tired. That motivation is nowhere to be found. Can you help those who are listening that can relate and can set systems up for themselves so that they don't need to rely on willpower?
Yeah, totally. So I want to use myself as an example here, because I honestly haven't gone to the gym in the last 4 days. And the last 4 mornings, I told myself, doesn't matter, tomorrow I'm going to the gym. But things have been popping up. My AC just went out. I had to be home because the people got sent here to fix it. Then I committed to doing this. And even though my day kind of got set behind, I was like, I'm not flaking on him again. We're going to do this. And so things have been pulling me off, but it's about not falling into that all or nothing mindset that we were talking about earlier. The reality for most people, and when we're talking about nutrition and where we're talking about fitness, is that in that example, the working out is just one of many moving pieces. Sleeping, nutrition, managing stress are all other moving pieces. So if you can't perfectly execute on one, that doesn't mean you don't have to execute on the others. You should be having a checklist of things that increase your chances of success, or just kind of keep you in line with what you're trying to accomplish. And in the grand scheme, you want to be checking those boxes off as much as possible. And if you look back and most of those boxes are checked in the grand scheme, you're moving in the right direction. But it's crazy to expect that every single box is going to be checked every single day, because you don't live for this. This is just one extra thing that you're putting on top of all the other obligations that you have. If you look at, like, you and I, we have dogs, we have our businesses, we have a bunch of things. The going to the gym and nutrition is an add-on to those things. You're never going to put going to the gym over your dog, over your business, over Becca. And you shouldn't. That would make you horribly selfish, right? So understanding that there's give in everything and understanding where that falls in the priority list is the most important thing. Because if you don't get the fact that things are not supposed to be black and white, then you're just going to fall off more times than you actually stay on plan.
Yeah. And the adjustment after setting plans, not meeting them, it's very easy to start the inner dialogue of, I've done this again. Why is this happening? And it's very easy to spiral. Yeah. And what typically, me relating to this experience, it happens every now and then where I just prolong, whether it's doing yoga or just doing something, right?
Mm.
For exercise. There's a concept, James Clear, the author of Atomic
Atomic habits.
Habits. Yeah, he talks about the 2-minute version.
Mhm.
And if it's even just a small thing to build that trust, it's worth doing. So if it means just getting up and going for a quick walk, which is one of the most underrated forms of exercise, that people are like, a walk's not going to do anything. I didn't go to the gym, like you said, all or
Yeah,
nothing
right.
thinking. I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to sit on the couch and,
Yeah.
you
Watch
know,
Naruto.
Yeah. So with a person that you would theoretically work with that had this issue, what would be your advice to them?
Yeah, that's a tough one just because everyone's so different. There's people that are cool with it. Like they just need that nudge of like, hey, it's okay, just hop back on things tomorrow. And sometimes like I have to bring myself back because obviously I've navigated to having a healthy relationship with like, okay, I didn't make it to the gym, just go tomorrow, no big deal. But there are people who are like, man, I ruined the whole week because I didn't make it to the gym on Monday, right? And today, in fact, I just talked to this woman who she hired me because her sister lost 50 pounds in a year, still eating all the foods that she loves, still drinking alcohol. She reversed her pre diabetic state and she had just a lot of things on her plate. So then she sent me over her sister who has a bunch of other things, a whole nother plethora of things, and just doesn't believe that she can progress without being perfect because obviously when things are more stacked against you, you just feel like you have to be perfect that much more. And it's her first week. She's been a couple days at it, and she was mentioning guilt because even though things fit into her diet, that just eating a certain way that's not what she expected just makes her feel like she's not succeeding and that her diet has to be completely healthy or else it's not, right? And I always try to tell people in that light, right? We need to do we need to have an overall healthy diet, not a completely healthy one, right? And that's everything. We need to overall just do the things we're supposed to do. And we could do some of the things we're not supposed to do. But it's not going to throw off if most of the things that you do are in line with the goal. So everybody's different. People are much harder on themselves than they should be in general. But some people really are vicious with themselves, especially like women.
Mm.
Men are a little bit more laid back about things, and some women too. But women tend to be the ones that are just like, it has to be perfect. It has to all, it all has to be a fairy tale story, right? Like if I'm signing on with you for 6 months, I'm going to every single day go to the gym and every single day hit my protein, every single day, get 7 hours of sleep minimum, whatever. And they don't firmly or they don't whole I'm sorry, they don't grasp the complete concept until they actually see themselves messing up a little bit and still getting results down the line. So as long as they can stick through it within that first like month and a half, and they start to see, okay, I haven't been perfect, but am losing some weight. I am feeling better. My clothes are starting to fit different. That's when they start to bite. And that's the answer there is that conversations need to be had. You need to have conversations with someone if you're that vicious type of person. If you're somebody who just needs the nudge, then watching this is probably enough for you to then tomorrow be like, hey, if I can't make it to the gym, I watched a podcast yesterday. I said it's okay. Let me just hop back on it. But if you're somebody who truly struggles with having that that acceptance of life is going to happen and you're just going to have to roll with the punches, working with somebody to have those conversations and to give you the confirmation that it's going to be okay, and then sticking through it to see things work is what's needed. There's no way around it.
Yeah, and also creating an environment for yourself where making healthy choices throughout the day, regardless if you're able to make it to the gym or not, is part of the big picture, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if we're, that some hacks that have really helped me are making it easy for me to eat healthy by having a cooked sweet potato ready
Yeah.
to go in my fridge all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And if I ever need a snack or something, it's it's there. I like the way they taste. Genuinely, it's like a snack for me,
Yeah.
and also having the absence of
Yeah.
other
Yeah.
snacks,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Also really helps. So we talk
No
a lot about
temptations.
yeah, and really we in nudge theory, which is a lot of where our work is built on top of. It talks about our choice architecture. So in our environment, there are cues that guide our behavior, whether we think about it consciously or not. And the choice architecture in our homes is often up to us to design so that the choices we're making are helping. So that's why having your mat rolled out in the morning for you
Yeah.
to do an ab workout, if that's what you're trying to do, just makes that easier, right? We all just need a little nudge
Less
every now and
friction.
then, and
Yeah.
that the environment can help with that. Are there any very practical, simple tips that you give someone that's just really not sticking with what they set out to do, or hasn't really built the traction with working with you?
Yeah, so that's actually a solid point because a lot of coaches, and I know this because people come to me saying this, have a one size fits all kind of way that they apply their process. And I think there's an importance in having your own process, but also knowing how to have a flex off of that process for people who might need those training wheels. So I always tell people that they're going to get a protocol. They're going to know where I want them to be at with the different nutrient targets that I assign them. But the first week starts off by us just understanding where they're at. So to answer your question, the first thing is somebody needs to understand truly how far they are from where they need to be, because that's the easiest way to then know what's the best next steps. If I give somebody a calorie goal, a protein intake range, and then daily minimums for fiber, water, and fruits and vegetables, and they're only sticking to their calories and they're off on everything else, I'm not going to expect that in week 2 they're going to be able to meet all these goals just with a conversation. So with this individual, the way forward is to follow a divide and conquer approach, right? So, okay, good job. You stuck to your calories. Let's keep that the same this week. And let's try to get into that protein intake range. Leave everything aside. If you hit it, extra credit, fantastic. But let's just focus on this next target, right? And so in the divide and conquer process, you then eventually master everything. And that's a way for them to feel that traction because they're placing the same weight of being successful on just reaching another goal as the person who is kind of defining success as meeting their entire protocol. It's all about how the coach frames it to their client, right? So if somebody's doing it themselves, it's about kind of being realistic and knowing that they're modifying things, and it all comes down to understanding what realistic expectations are. But yeah, that's kind of the biggest thing if we're talking about getting started and letting that snowball roll and eventually avalanche, is just understanding how far you are from truly what you need to be doing, and then finding the most practical approach, which for everybody is going to be different. There are people that I work with that by week 2 they're meeting every single goal and it's smooth sailing, but that's very rare. So if we're talking about that specific scenario of getting started, that's the best point that I can make.
Yeah, a lot of people I'm talking to that are really just starting to get into a healthy lifestyle are very open and wanting some guidance around, what are some, just with a busy schedule, what are some easy ways to start to build strong foundation, but not do everything all at
Yeah,
once. Like
yeah,
there are some people that really want to plan, they want to coach, they want everything,
yeah,
all the kitchen sink to get them where they want to be. And then there are other people that are more like I'm happy where things are at. Like I definitely want to invest more in my health, and I'll share simple things like adding a salad to your meal is just a very simple thing you can do to get extra greens if that's something you're missing, right? Fibers and micronutrients. And for those that don't really get much exercise, who think the gym is the only option, I'll suggest going for a walk at their nearest park,
yeah,
right? Or someone that, sits at their desk all day and says, I literally can't leave my office. I'll recommend some at your desk stretching routines,
Yeah.
right? Like things that they can do right where they're at. Are there, given that you've had lots of experience with
Yeah.
different scenarios, can you share some of those just quick tips so people can take something away and start implementing something small?
Yeah. So at the complete base, if you're just looking to have a healthier diet, very easily protein at each meal. Most people don't do that. They'll do like breakfast that's like a bagel and cream cheese, and then they'll have like a protein with lunch and maybe with dinner. But just kind of standardizing and saying, okay, I'm going to have a protein with every meal. If you want to take that an extra step, I'm going to have 30 grams of protein with every meal. That is huge right there because that's the number two most under eaten nutrient. Another very easy one is water intake. Everyone slacks on water, even though it's the easiest goal to conquer. And so I tell people you have to have a plentiful source of water at an arm's length away everywhere you go. The reason you're not reaching your water is because it's just not around you. If I'm here working at my desk and my Stanley is not right here, and I have to go downstairs to fill up a glass of water, I'm just not going to go because the effort to get that glass of water to me, it doesn't make sense, even though it should, right? I'd rather stay here and type another sentence into what I'm doing or whatever. So having it around you and having it be plentiful is going to easily hit that. If you have to take that an extra step, set a couple alarms throughout the day, right? So you set an alarm at 11 a.m., you set another alarm at 5 p.m. Those serve as checkpoints. When they go off, how much water am I at? And it's very easy to then have like a recalibration. Okay, from 11 to 5, which is my next alarm, if I drink this much, I'll be on pace. Just serving as little reminders, not a grading system. Same thing with the protein in each meal. If your focus is not protein and it's to, get more variety of fruits and vegetables, implementing a snack bag of carrots or a snack bag of celery or a snack bag of berries, and you're implementing that every 3 hours, very easy way for you to get 3 to 4 servings of fruits and vegetables a day that you're not thinking about because they're just in the mix. You don't have to go downstairs and cut the watermelon or core cut the apple. They're just ready to go. And I guess let's just go one more, right? If we're on the topic of fruits and vegetables, people buy the fruits and vegetables, but they won't eat them. And that's simply because they don't take the extra 10 minutes when they come from the grocery store to wash them, prep them, cut the stems off the strawberries. That way, when you want them, you can just grab them from the fridge. It's like you said, have the yoga mat rolled out. If you have everything ready to go in Tupperware is washed and all you got to do is grab them and throw them in a bowl, you're going to eat them. So reducing friction to all that in whatever way makes the most sense is the straightforward answer, but everything has its own little system of shortcuts.
Yeah. I removing friction for me has certainly worked, and having a ritual has worked just as well. Like knowing that in the morning, along with my coffee, which is a feel good
Yeah,
experience,
yeah.
I
15 ounces of water.
enjoy a nice I
Yeah,
enjoy a nice walk or a
yeah,
nice stretch, and that's another one of the
yeah.
behavioral pillars that James Clear talks about is make it enjoyable, make it fun.
Hmm.
And so if it's something that you've been trying to try to do, like even going to walk on the treadmill,
Hmm.
James Clear recommends listening to your favorite song
Yeah,
or your favorite playlist only when you're doing the thing that you've been trying to do.
yeah, yeah,
Otherwise, like you can't,
yeah,
you're
yeah,
not
yeah.
supposed to listen to it. That way you feel you attach a good experience to this behavior that maybe isn't the most natural.
Yeah, I will say though that sometimes that can get toxic because, especially when you're talking
Yeah.
about nutrition, it starts. You don't want to fall into like the compensation cycles because there'll be people that then fall into I'll have this cookie if I go run it off, or you
Mm,
know what I mean, or
mm,
like if I don't go to the gym, I can't eat carbs today. There's a lot of people that do think. When I first started doing all this, that's what I was most like. Whoa, people actually think like this? That's crazy. Because like people think that
mm.
they burn most of the calories that they eat on a daily basis by like doing physical activity, whereas that's where they burn the least amount of calories, right? We burn 90% of the calories that we burn every day just being alive and functioning, right? And people actually think that, oh, like I need to burn 1,000 calories in my Orange Theory class if I want to have carbs today. So it gets toxic even though these people have good intentions behind what they're doing. And then without even knowing and being fully just kind of invested into it, they start kind of having disordered mindsets, which that is the hardest thing to undo because it, what James Clear intends to, in the good habit building can become like bad habit building, and any habit that's built is hard to undo. So, always kind of like being careful with like the nuances of all that.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I think a lot of that has to do with the inner dialogue and how we build. And I experienced this when I had missed, a meal, or just like really was in this all or nothing thinking and feeling like if I didn't get it perfect, that I needed to compensate.
Mm-hmm.
And the feeling I had was always, I ate too much yesterday. I'm going to go hard as hell at the gym today. Like that was my classic. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that just creates a cycle of, almost wanting to
Yeah. I feel you, bro.
pay back, like build that debt and then pay back that debt.
Yeah.
So I want to,
what's funny?
Yeah, go ahead.
You off. So, or it's not funny, but if you look up binge eating disorder binge eating disorder, the exact definition in the DSM-5 is compensatory mechanisms that undo, the binge. That's what classifies you to have binge eating disorder. So it's not the actual binging of the food, it's you trying to undo that binging after. So whether somebody's like purging and puking after, or doing a ton of exercise a day after, or fasting all day, or taking diuretics, that's what classifies the eating disorder. It's not that they like see red, like we were saying, and just clear out their pantry. It's the after of like, if they deal with it this way after, it's the binge eating disorder. So, and that's very common. A lot of people don't even know they have it. You know what I mean? Binging is a word that people like throw around like, oh, I binged at this restaurant yesterday, but you just ate like crazy. Did you go home and puke and like set up like 5 days worth of workouts after? No, but that's what it is. And sometimes people voluntarily just put themselves into that, not knowing that it's again toxic. So, yeah.
So I actually want to talk about binging at a restaurant, and specifically just restaurants. Like you talk a lot about people have this idea when they're on a diet, they can't go to a restaurant and order what they want.
Yeah.
And that very idea is what, and them bringing Tupperware filled with their chicken breasts and rice to the restaurant is what they think is what's best, because maybe it keeps them in control. And maybe there's other reasons why they do it. And another could be that they don't want to get a taste of a fry because it might bring back
a trigger,
the trigger of, I want more of that. Because in a way, and this is something I learned that was really effective, is that if, we haven't had sugar in a while and we finally have sugar again, the body becomes like a sugar making factory all over again and starts to crave that sugar. So I've noticed with my body that if I haven't had sugar in a while and then I have a lot of sugar one day, the next day I'm kind of wanting that treat, or I'm wanting that extra thing of sugar, when normally before I had sugar, it was less of a craving. So so let's talk about the restaurant.
That's honestly, let's talk about that real quick. That's honestly not necessarily the sugar itself. It's more so the awareness that you have of, oh my God, I didn't have it in so X amount of time, and now I'm having it again. And then that stays on your mind, because the reality is that you have, like, not having sugar is a general statement, but like, unless you're eating zero carbohydrates, and even then your body has mechanisms to convert things into sugar mimicking substrates. But unless you're truly having like zero carbs and your body's just, well, whatever, you're going to always have some form of like glucose in the bloodstream. So it's like your body can't have the reaction of like, oh my God, I didn't have sugar and now I do. Even if it's like, oh, I had 50 grams of carbohydrates one day and then I had 150 the next day, it's still such a familiar and such a prioritized nutrient in the body that it's not like this drug effect that people think. It's actually mixed up for just the mind reaction of you saying, well, man, I ate chicken and veggies for 5 days and now I just allowed myself to have whatever it is that you had. That then kind of goes back to you being like, my streak is over. I might as well just have it, do it again. And it's like you're playing with, like you said, the internal dialogue, but this is more subconscious. So,
yeah. That's interesting. Let's talk about the restaurant ordering. I know you talk a lot about this on your Instagram, and I think it's so on point.
Yeah. Oh, good.
Yeah. Well, I just think I personally used to think in a way that I need to be so strict with myself when I'm on a diet or following some sort of program, that if I fall off, right, that I'll kind of have that same mentality that I just shared about sugar.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, well, I ate chicken and rice and now what's another day? What's another meal?
Yeah.
And almost out of fear of that continuing, I would want to limit what I eat at a restaurant. So let's hear what you typically share with clients about that.
Yeah. So the important part is understanding that I'm not saying that you you can go binge at the restaurant and still get results. That's not what I'm saying. I'm trying to help somebody understand that you can go to the restaurant and not automatically consider it a wash, because that's what I used to do. If people got me out of the basement and they were like, oh, even if it was freaking Denny's, just gross food, I'd get the full stack of pancakes, the French onion ring burger, finish everyone else's food that they didn't finish, get the soup. It's just okay, screw it, I messed up. I'm just going to enjoy this because it's going to suck again tomorrow. You know what I mean? And the first thing is to understand that if you're finding yourself to binge at every restaurant, it's because what you're doing, how you're living life around nutrition sucks right now. So as soon as it's low friction for you to just eat a bunch of great food, you're going to snap, right? I found myself at my cousin's birthday parties clearing out the dessert tables because it would be hours of me just eyeballing the dessert table, and then I'd snap and eat the whole freaking thing because I didn't allow myself those things. And that's human nature. You want what you can't have, especially when it's so freaking delicious. So putting that aside, right? It's not a wash going to the restaurant if you handle it correctly. And so this is something that people literally sign up with me for, just that fact, is that I'm not the coach that's going to make you stop doing that. So I used to really go crazy with voice notes, you're going to do this, this, and this leading up to the day. The morning of, you're going to just make sure you do this, this, and that. And then when you're out, order whatever you want. Don't get the chicken and broccoli. Get what sounds good to you. If you want a cocktail, get a cocktail. If you want an appetizer, really consider if you actually want it. And if you do, maybe there's someone at the table that wants to share it with you. When the dessert menu comes, by this time, 99% of people are too full to even eat. They just get the dessert because it just looks so good in the picture. If you truly want it, I know you don't need it, but if you truly want it, be okay with not getting your money's worth on the $10 slice of cake. Have a little bit and give it to whoever is next at the table. That's what we have to understand, that how we enjoy things when we're trying to lose weight. Now, when you're just trying to be healthy and maybe you're at a good body composition right now and it's just relationship with food and lifestyle, you have much more wiggle room than the person trying to lose weight. So you can have more of that dessert. You can be more free with the appetizers and ordering what you want. You can get the second cocktail. You can have more of the bread that comes to the table. You still can't kill the basket yourself, but you can do these things, especially when you do the right things leading up to the event. It's a two-part strategy, which is the strategies that are needed in place prior to you being out of the house. And then when you're out of the house, just stay mindful and intentional with what you're doing. It's a two-step process. I have a guide. All you got to do is ask me for it and I'll send it to you. And it's literally a flow chart that says how you're going to handle the week, how you're going to handle the day of, how you're going to handle the event. And in case of emergency, if you truly snapped, then what we're going to do after. But again, it's all realistic. It's not compensatory, restrictive, mechanistic responses to you feeling like a failure. It's just to get on track, to clear out that sodium, and to just feel good. So
We'll be adding your.
That's the short version of it, but it all
Yeah.
depends on what things are looking like. If it's a brunch, it's a little easier to navigate. If it's your favorite
Mhm.
restaurant, it's a little harder to navigate. If it's a
Mhm.
vacation, all you can eat, like all inclusive, that's got its own thing. And again, this is why coaches are helpful, because I can list these things all under the same category, but they all have wildly different approaches to them if you want to do them right and still be successful.
Yeah, and we'll include the guide in the show notes for those that are looking to explore that. There's something you mentioned about having a diet throughout the week that just sucks. Like you
Mm,
hate the food that you
yeah,
eat, and then you go to a restaurant, you go to your favorite restaurant,
you
the
snack.
best restaurant,
Yeah, you
and you
snack,
just go ham.
dude.
And this
So
is
many
interesting
times.
because this was the number one unlock that freed me of that feeling that I need to run away from what my
Yeah.
normal Monday through Friday looks like in terms of food.
Hmm.
And it was the moment I realized, what do I actually like to eat?
Hmm.
Okay, I like sweet potatoes. Okay, I like ground beef made in this specific way. Okay, I like chicken thighs over
Yeah, yeah.
chicken breast. And
That's
I
that's
like
unlocking it of itself that people don't even know about.
this is such a massive unlock
Yeah.
that it blew my mind once I was actually making food at home that I
Mhm.
loved, that was also fitting my macros.
Yeah.
And it wasn't, I wasn't even counting my macros, but having counted macros in the past, I
Yeah.
had a sense of,
Awareness.
okay, yeah, protein needs to look about like the size of a fist,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
like this is, how much rice or carbs, and always having a salad. Thanks, Matt Ogus. Shout out. I want to talk. I want you to share what, when people make this change, how it tends to shift the way that they think about nutrition and
yeah.
their relationship around it, and anything you want to share around just having a happier experience with the food that fit the plan or that fit the goal that you're trying to meet.
Well, let's put it this way. People aren't um like in this they're not in this like prison of, I'm trying to diet, but, restaurants are holding me back. It's more so that they're choosing a life to live at different times. So, like, when they're trying to be healthy, typically they don't go out to eat, right? And it's when they're like, screw dieting, that then they go out to eat, you know what I mean? And they don't do it right. So it's like the bouncing back and forth between the diet life and then the YOLO life is what's causing for them to then have this relationship where it's like, well, I'm back in this life going out to restaurants, so let me maximize this, because when I go back to the diet life, it's going to suck because I can't do this. And so this reaction that you're like, talk to me about when people like find the success or find like the peace that they're looking for with, this is when you show them that there's, like I said at the absolute beginning, walking that straight path that you can have both. So for me, that starts with the initial consult call, because I explain to them that this is not going to be this standard nutrition coaching that you just get a diet and I'm going to check in with you, making sure you're following this diet every day. This is going to be, let me give you this plan. Let's try to follow this plan as much as possible. But when you can't, know that that's part of the process and that there's alternative plans of action built within a plan. A plan that actually works is one that you can take a side road on that is still part of the plan. So that's that awakening comes from them just grasping that actual process. And I've had people that can't grasp it. And unfortunately, that's just because for some people, the problem goes even deeper to where they need like legit nutritional psychology. It's a much deeper rooted issue, because believe it or not, like a lot of nutrition issues can be like to the traumatic level of something that happened when someone was younger or whatever. But for a lot of people, it's just that they truly just don't know that it's a lot easier than it really is. They just truly don't know that not every decision you make has to be a healthy one or a high protein one or a low calorie one, or, so it honestly starts immediately. Like, it's not something that for me, it's like, I got to work with this person for 5 months until like they
Mm,
finally cross that bridge and get to this point where they're like, okay, wow, I can do it now. It's just more so
mm,
them getting the confirmation, like the hand on the shoulder that, hey, you can do it as long as you do it right. And they lean on you for the things that they need to just double check on. Like, okay, Frankie, I followed the guide you gave me. I banked some calories throughout the week to kind of serve as a safety net for the day of. I made sure that my breakfast today and my lunch were high volume and low calorie. And I have a very solid amount of calories going into the dinner. Now, are you sure all I got to do is just be mindful and stay intentional? Can I have a cocktail? I was thinking of maybe ordering this. Can I do that? Those are going to be the initial kind of like questions that they're going to have. But as soon as they handle one restaurant night out, having done it right, that's when it's just like that unlock is there, because it's like, wow, I woke up the next day the same weight. And typically everyone, when they go out to eat, they hold, even if they do it right, they typically just kind of hold a bit of water because it's just higher sodium food, and you typically drink less water for that day and stuff like that. Have your meal later, and that's fine, but that's a victory if your weight didn't like skyrocket 5 pounds, right? Because that means you managed it correctly. And then you have the talk with them about, hey, that's just sodium, and tomorrow I guarantee you might be at a new low or whatever, or you're just going to feel good. You're not going to feel like that sluggish 2-day feeling of kind of like playing catch up because you just ate so much. And like I said, they do it right once with you, and then it's just a tool that goes in their tool belt. Then it's about, how do I handle this wedding that I got invited to? And that's a different tool that we put in the tool belt. And then it's, Frankie, it's my birthday and we're going to a club. How do I handle the club? I want to drink, but let's do it right. That's another tool belt. And then the way I put it to my clients is, there's only so many jobs, right? Like there's the club job, there's the restaurant job, there's so many of these jobs that you're going to do until they start to resemble each other. You get invited to the next wedding, you're going to remember how we handled it last time. You're going to remember which tool to pull out of your tool belt. Same thing with the restaurant, same thing with the wedding, same thing with the vacation, same thing with your kid's birthday, right? And that's, a whole nother topic in and of itself on how you handle your life affects your kids, because they model you, they mirror you. So if they see you're the mom that doesn't eat cake because you're trying to be healthy, you're actually setting a bad example, because one slice of cake is not the reason why somebody can't lose fat, right? But again, separate thing. Handling it right once is how somebody gets that unlock. It's not something that's got to be worked towards avidly. So
and those changes that they're making, you've mentioned that they say they don't even think the same anymore.
Yeah. They literally say, like, I feel like I'm not dieting. And that's when somebody's been truly awoken, because if you feel like you're dieting, that means you feel like you're doing something that you're not going to do when you get successful, right? Because when people say I'm on a diet, it's implied that it's temporary, right? When I tell people I'm not putting you on a diet, I hate the word altogether. If you're doing something that has the word diet in it, you're already doing it on hard mode. If you are just thinking a little bit more about what you're doing, all that means is that once you're successful, you just have to think a little bit less of those things, but you still got to think about them, or else you don't sustain the goal. You don't just get to a point where it's automatic. Like, you're going to go to the gas station and want to get the Chips Ahoy when you're checking out always, because you know that they're freaking delicious. You're going to want to go out and have more drinks than you should, but you're going to have to keep yourself in line. So doing the things you got to do to get to where you want to be is essential, that you keep doing them. And that's why most people aren't successful long term. Somebody does a fad diet to get to where they want to be, and they stop doing that fad diet. That's why they gain all their weight back. So doing things the right way to where you're actually making a lifestyle, again, cliche, it's got to be a lifestyle to be successful. It truly does, but in the sense that you just need to understand what to think about. You have to understand what your day needs to look like. You just have to build the habits, the awarenesses, and the behaviors that just last forever. It's just how you live. And that's what I tell my clients. When we're done working together, it's not just like you're just randomly going to stop doing all the things that we've been doing. It's going to be part of how you just think about living your life. And that's why you're never going to need to come back ever again. You're not going to need to hire anyone ever again. You're going to be a mini nutritionist yourself, is how I put it. So,
Yeah. All right, Francesco, this is a big question. So if you could leave one message in a time capsule, put it in a bottle, 150 years from now, somebody opens that bottle, sees the message, and it has to do with health and lifestyle, what would you want to tell future generations?
I feel like there's so much, and you got to kind of like take into account advancements Like right now with the GLP-1 craze, who knows what's going to be out there. But even what I'm telling people right now when they're asking about GLP-1s is that the recipe is the same, right? The GLP-1s work because they have people eating less, and ideally they would work better. They're not working as well as they should be because they're not moving more, they're not lifting, they're losing muscle tissue and all that. But at the foundation, the recipe is the same. The eating needs to be scaled back and nutrition has to be prioritized. And you have to move your body and challenge your muscles. In 150 years, that's not going to change. And there's going to be probably cycles of different fad diets and different systems and different supplements rising to the popularity charts. Keto has been popular and unpopular now for like 3 cycles. So in 150 years, it's probably going to be another 50 cycles. So the message I would leave is everything that is the most popular fad or trend right now has been popular 10 times over in the last 150 years. Focus on the basics, and that's what's going to get the job done. That's it.
Absolute mastery. Amazing. That is true experience. I love it. So we're going to go into some rapid fire questions. And the first one is, what is one thing for those that are wanting to track? What is one thing they absolutely should track?
Yeah, that's
metric wise.
100 metric wise or nutrient wise?
Nutrient wise. Let's go with that.
Nutrient wise would be fiber. Nobody knows how much fiber they're eating. I think it's like 9 out of 10 Americans are eating less than half the amount of fiber that they should be eating. And I know this is rapid fire, but I'm just going to explain that fiber is the nutrient that fights risk of all cause disease. Any kind of complication you can run into, fiber fights that. It helps with gut health. It helps reduce colon cancer. It's the only thing that can fight colon cancer, which is like the number 1 disease taking out people under 50 years old right now. And just to like make sure that your body's actually fully absorbing everything you eat, you want to make sure fiber is there to regulate your digestion. So know how much fiber you're eating and track it if you're not getting enough.
Amazing.
Yeah.
What is a popular fiber choice amongst the clients you've worked with?
So what I like, the hack that I found at grocery stores is, I don't know if you ever heard of Wassa crackers. Bro, you never saw like those crackers that they're like that, like rectangles, and they come in like a pink box? Bro, they're 3 grams of fiber per cracker and only 45 calories. So you have 3 of them in the morning. Like, dude, if you like bagels with cream cheese, have Wassa crackers with cream cheese. Bro, 3 of them, 9 grams of fiber. For most people, that's like close to half their daily amount, and only 135 calories. That's the biggest bang for buck fiber wise that you can have. So Wassa crackers, great. Get the multigrain over the
check them out. That's perfect. All right,
raspberries and then what blackberries? If you're a real stickler and you need sweetness, raspberries and blackberries are OP. 1 cup of blackberries every morning, 1 cup of raspberries every morning. It's like 15 grams of fiber.
Amazing.
Yeah.
What is one thing people shouldn't track?
Macros. I don't think people should track like all their macros because for most people, if you're not a competitive athlete or a bodybuilder, you don't need that extra mental bandwidth to be stretched. It's not going, the benefits you're going to get is not worth the extra effort of puzzling together meals. And I've never had clients track macros, period. In fact, if they want me to configure their macros, I try to talk them out of it. So macros, unless you say sugar, you don't got to track that.
Yeah, great. Is there a quote or mindset that you come back to when you're falling off?
Yes.
Let's hear it.
Well, there's 2. And the only reason why I say that is because one of them is my quote. But before my own quote, it was Mark Lobliner. Remember Mark Lobliner? He mentioned, or he said that fitness and health is meant to enhance your life, not control it. So a lot of times when we feel we're falling off, it's because we see that fitness or health today cannot be the full priority. And we feel like that's automatically means falling off. Like we were saying, I didn't get to the gym today. The week is ruined. It's meant to enhance your life. If you have a 6-day split and you only went 4 times, you still went 4 times. That's 4 more times than 0. So that's what I fell back on a lot. But the one that I've really been using a ton for my clients is that uh, perfection is the enemy of good enough. So that's the one that's really been like on my forehead.
Well, that's the perfect way to end.
Yeah.
How can people find you and your work?
Honestly, just social media, just Instagram, frankie.pro. Make it simple. I'm the guy that the first line of my bio is no diets, no restrictions, no guilt. So
Love it.
oftentimes not what you see. But I enjoyed this a ton. And we got to do like 3 or 4 episodes of this.
This is
There's
great.
so many
Thank you
topics.
so much.
Yeah, no,
This
thank
is
you.
really fun. We'll have many more for
Yeah,
sure.
hell yeah.
Bye everyone. Ci vediamo.
Arrivederci.
A presto.